Okay, so I'm going to say that we're live now. Ha ha. Live here on the Women's International Music Network. I'm your host, Myki Angeline, speaker, podcast philanthropist, blogger on Medium.com as the Bad Filipino, and I work with the Women's International Music Network. I'm here live in Sacramento with a really good friend, an amazing artist, Merlot of the Bitter Elegance, here in Sacramento, California. This is actually your home studio.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. I was here, how long ago was it when we were dropping the background vocals for the new album that's about to come out?
That might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. It really wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. Maybe it was even a month ago, actually, because I think it was like around the beginning of April. So myself and a handful of friends were invited to come in here and do background vocals for a song that's going to be on the track of your new album coming out. That was fun.
Yeah.
Your husband was so shocked when he thought, I didn't think this was going to come out so great, like the first time.
Yeah.
It literally took us maybe 10 minutes from the time we got here, signed the release, stood up there and you know, screamed our hearts out. That was a lot of fun. So
he said it almost brought tears to his eyes when he heard everybody first time. He was just so shocked by it.
We saw his face. It was awesome. I wish I Snapchatted it. And so we're going to talk about the new album coming out, obviously, and because it's right around the corner. But before we get to that, I would love for you as the audience to learn more about my dear friend here, Merlot, the background with where she's come from music to now, the things that she's accomplished, and what it's like being a woman in the industry. So let's start with, because how we met, actually, wasn't it through the Skips program, or was it before that?
I think we met before
or was it
that,
the music scene?
It was through the music scene.
Okay.
The very first time that I remember meeting you was actually at one of the local clubs, and it was like Halloween. Yeah, we won't go into what you were wearing, but
oh my God,
it was
that
hilarious.
Show? Okay, yes.
It was
okay.
freaking hilarious, and it was awesome. So
costumes are great.
Yeah.
That was a while ago, actually. That was about
while.
7 years ago.
Yeah, it was a bit.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's, you know, time just flies and you forget how long you know somebody until you have to like dig deep.
Yeah.
So how do you just how would you describe the kind of music Bitter Elegance is, the genre?
Well, we kind of think that it's like Muse meets Evanescence kind of thing. Because it's a whole just big collaboration. We don't want to like shove ourselves in a box and limit ourselves. So I come from like a metal background when it comes to, you know, bands and being in bands. And these guys that I'm playing with came from a pop background. And so we're blending the two worlds together is what we're essentially doing. My big vocal influence has been from Evanescence, but I've also like been influenced by Gwen Stefani as well. So I've got the extremes on each end in terms of like the vocal tonalities, so I can hit every marker that we need to hit in whatever we're doing. So
yes, you can. And explain a little bit why that is, because you've done some extensive work with singing. I have
well, my training mostly started off with like classical training, because you know, back in the day, that's all you got. You didn't get these other teachers that taught screaming, that taught like rock techniques, that taught pop techniques. It was just, you had to sit there and do your breathing exercises and sing your operas and work from there. But I worked my way from there. When I actually moved to California from Colorado and wanted to get in the music scene here, I said, well, I don't know where to begin, so I decided to take voice lessons at Skips Music under Larissa Brisky.
Yes, that was our connection too, Larissa Brisky.
Yeah.
That, for you all know, I've talked about many times because she's created the Girls Rock Sacramento, which I don't know if you've worked with that camp. Have you?
I have not worked with that camp.
Okay, you need to work with that camp. But you're right, that's how we met, because you teach at Skips.
Yes, yes.
You teach vocal lessons.
Yes, and so with Larissa's guidance, you know, I was able to transition from all that opera world into the rock world, was just really where I wanted to be. And so she really mentored me through that. And now, you know, at one point she says to me, you don't really need lessons, Liz. And I said, but this is my therapy. So just let me keep paying you.
Humor you.
Let me keep paying you to hang out, okay? Okay, cool. But then eventually at one point I read this book that had a lot on vocal technique and all the details of like just the physicality behind it and stuff. And I thought, well, she could really, you know, maybe she could use this for her students. And went in and I shared it with her and I was explaining all the different things and the techniques and what I learned from the book. And I was like, yeah, you might be able to use this with some of your lessons and your students. And she's like, why aren't you teaching?
I was going to ask the same thing, because you were laying everything out just like an instructor.
And so yeah, she asked me that, and I said, well, because I'm in insurance sales, And from that point on, she said, I have a waiting list. Would you like to be my understudy and take on some of the wait lists and develop your career here at Skips Music? And I said, yes. So that was my transition into teaching. So.
Women empowering other women. I love it. Yeah. And so how long have you been teaching at Skips?
I started in 2005, so we are looking at 13 years now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Rewarding, isn't it?
Totally.
Great to get paid for doing what you love.
Yeah.
Do you teach any of the classical styles that you know, or do you do...
I teach whatever people want to know.
Okay.
Although there have been a few students that I've given a little push towards the classical side because they maxed out like with everything else that they could do, their abilities. I was like, you've got rock down, you've got pop down. I want to challenge you. Would you mind just tinkering with an opera for once? So
nice. Now, bringing that up, because in 2018 and knowing the styles of popular music, do you see it still an important style to learn?
Absolutely. If you want to be an extremely good vocalist, if you want to be able to hold long notes, be able to project well, be able to have quiets and louds and all of the different mechanics that go into opera, it requires so much more than a lot of this modern music asks for. So,
especially with songs that often auto-tune, which it irritates those of us who appreciate the real vocals, but at the same time, we know that's just kind of where music goes at times.
Well, I do appreciate the technology, because sometimes
Absolutely.
if you're having a bad day, all right, you got a fix for it. Like I've sung that 20 times already. I'm exhausted. I'll do better tomorrow, or you can just throw autotune on the one note, dang it.
Right? There's always that option. So. Now, didn't you travel to New York to sing at one point?
I did. Back in 2012. I got asked to join a choir with the Sac City College because they were going to be going to Carnegie Hall in New York. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I was so excited for you when you posted that on Facebook.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? We're doing what? I'm in. I will do whatever it takes to make that happen.
And what was that experience like for you?
That experience was just... it was so amazing. It was nice to be in a large choir again, because it had been so long for me to be in. It was an 80-person choir. So it was nice to be in such a large choir again and hear all the dynamics that you could create from a group of that size.
Because it's just vocals, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's all we did. It was all a cappella. Yeah.
And what is that like? Because you all have a role,
yeah,
right? Singing certain pitches, whatnot. What is that like when you're in your part and you wait for your part? What is that feeling? How can you describe that?
Exhilarating. Like most of the time when I'm waiting for my part to come up, I'm thinking about the words, but I'm also thinking bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, because if you lock your knees while you're in concert, there's the possibility of you passing out from just all of the intense things that are going on. Your increased heart rate, the heat from the lights, like all of these other things that go on. And so it's like, okay, breathe, words, notes, bend your knees, keep looking at the director for your cue, and go.
Interesting. Okay, I never would have thought about it with the knee thing, because it's such a different way of performing compared to being with a band.
Right, with a band you get to have all that movement and expression in your body. When you're with a choir, you're not supposed to stand out necessarily as an individual unless you're a soloist, which I got to do because I can sing a high C.
Hey!
But yeah, in a group, you have to blend and you have to look as one entire unit. So it's completely different. You have to stand more still unless the entire group is moving. So that lack of movement.
Oh man, so many intricate components to singing in a choir.
Yeah.
And you have that on your bucket list.
Yeah.
Incredible. So, okay. So let's now move towards, let's talk about the album.
Yeah.
So this album titled...
Twisting the Fairy Tale.
Twisting the Fairy Tale. Give us a little background on the concept behind the album.
So, we'd never done a concept album. Of course, it's our second album. Those guys have been together for a long time, but they never did a concept album either. So, we said, wait a minute. We're doing a lot of songs that happen to be kind of around the idea of modern day concepts and twisting them, or fairy tales and twisting them. Why don't we make a concept album? Why don't we try this? And all of us we're like, yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. So we had all of these ideas popping off because, you're thinking about fairy tales, but with a twist. You're thinking about modern conventions, but with a twist. And it's like, oh yeah, let's do this. So.
Do you have so do you have a favorite song on the album? That stands out from others and the reason behind?
A favorite song, let's see. Yeah. Why is the title eluding me? Oh, got it. There it went. There are two. The top two would be the one that you guys got to come and sing the vocals on. We're All Mad Here. That was like one of my favorites. And Mirror Mirror was another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yes, We're All Mad Here. Oh my God, that was so much fun.
And, you know, just because I get to just really belt on that song. It's got a lot of guitars in it. So I love the songs that have a lot of guitars. But Mirror Mirror, the rhythmic element behind that one, we did a lot more like programming and electronic stuff. And it's just the feel of it. Just, the groove. I love the groove so much of Mirror Mirror. But yeah, so it's like, those are the contrasts right there, right? You've got the rock and heavy We're All Mad Here song, and then you've got the nice like groove of the Mirror Mirror that just gets you just, oh, yeah. So
I could tell you were in love with this.
Yeah.
And so now the hard copies are going to be available apparently this weekend. If you were in Sacramento and you bought tickets, you get a hard copy. Lucky you. Because I don't know, are there any tickets available for, because I think you're doing 2 shows this weekend, aren't you?
We are. We didn't want it to be so super crowded, and so we decided to split it up into 2 shows, and that also gave us more availability for more people to be able to come and experience what we've got going on. So more lights too. We got more lights for the theater, so
the whole concept album, because I know your husband, he loves theatrics.
Oh yes.
Which is going to be beautiful for this performance. So are there any available tickets, or is this both sold out?
They are. There might be some still available on Saturday. You'd have to go on the website to check it out, because we pull down the link once the tickets are no longer available. So if you go to www.thebitterelegance.com, if our web link is still up, we still have tickets.
And if not, if you end up missing out, you're not in the Sacramento area here in California, it will be digital available for streaming sometime next week. So definitely like their pages and follow them. They're awesome. Before we leave it, though, I do want to talk with you, because as a woman in the industry, we always like to ask this question here at the Women's International Music Network. You know, it's 2018, but it's still predominantly a man-ran world. It just is. It's harder for women to get equal pay. It's harder for women to be considered for the same position in all that there is with business, particularly in the music industry still. Have you, as a female, because you've been doing this for quite some time, have you ever run into any hurdles because of being a woman in pursuing your career in music?
No, I actually haven't run into any hurdles. I think part of that is because I got lucky, especially when I moved to Sacramento in my early 20s and was connected with Larissa so quick off. And she was already established in the local scene. She already struggled for me, so I got the luxury of just being able to follow in the broken apart path. And I feel very fortunate in that regard. You know, I'm sure lots of other women have struggled in the industry, and I've seen that it's a man's world out there. And I know that because I've also tried to get my foot in the door with the computer programming stuff, and you know that's a man's world, right? So.
Unfortunately, it shouldn't have been, yes. Because, I mean, you're the lead singer and songwriter for the Bitter Elegance. What's it like being the front female of an all-male band?
Well, with any other group, it might not be the same dynamic, but these guys are so warm and supportive and open, and they prefer a female-fronted band. They prefer the energy of having a woman up front, and that they just find that there's power in the femininity. So
I just got chills. Men appreciating the power of the woman. See, there's another reason 78 why you must love the Bitter Elegance and you must get this album and try to come out to their shows. I love that. And you're right, with Larissa helping pave the way, part of empowerment and doing what we do here at the Women is being each other's support.
Right.
Because, and you recognizing that's great that there is hope. That women can come through in this industry and not have to worry about that sort of thing. I love actually hearing it when women don't have the backstory that they've had to struggle or have been, sexually assaulted or just demeaned, like you didn't know what you were doing. It's so great that you didn't have to experience that.
No, most people are like, I'm not worthy, you know more than me.
That's awesome. No, that's so great. So then, lastly, do you have any advice, being that you are an instructor And also, I must add to you volunteer your time as a coach for like the Stairway to Stardom program.
Yeah.
Which is real quick the 8-week program where kids who dream to be in a band and they do not need experience, they come together, they get a coach.
Yeah.
They learn to write original songs and they have 8 weeks to put them together and they have this huge rock out performance at the end of it. What has that been like for you, coaching those kids? Because you got kids often that don't have the talent, but they have the drive and they have the dream.
If they have the drive and they have the dream, as long as they're not noodling, not tinkering around while we're trying to get business done, it's great. I usually find, it's a process. It's frustrating in the weeks that you're trying to get them to focus and write the songs and come up with stuff, especially if they're newbies at the whole, writing things and collaborating with others. So you learn to find out what works with each individual and try to bring them out of their shell a little bit so they can all work together comfortably as a group. And then, so it's frustrating. They're kids, they're teenagers. Kids, I hate using that term for teenagers. They're teenagers and their minds are like, so it's frustrating to keep them focused. But once they hit that stage and everything just comes together, it's like magic, and everybody's just like, wow, this is what it was all for. So.
That's amazing, and I can say that for a fact because I have judged them for 3 years, and I had the pleasure of co-hosting it. I think it was 2016.
Yeah.
And you were a judge, actually, I believe, the year that I was the co-host.
Yeah.
And I love seeing those kids come together. You can see it in their eyes. You can feel them as you can tell they're like kind of going over in their head, like, okay, I'm supposed to talk about the band in this part. Okay, I'm supposed to remember to mention the name of the song in this part. But man, they get the whole, all the equipment, because it's donated by Skips, and a huge audience of their family and their friends.
It's usually like 1,000 people, 1,200 people, something like that.
Yes, and then when they're done, they get swept away to the red carpet and they get interviewed. So they get the whole ensemble from building the band, creating the music, performing it, and then being interviewed about it. I think that's the most amazing program.
And then they get to go in the studio after that and record at least one song.
Yes, that's true. They get the experience of what it's like to be in the studio and lay down tracks.
Yeah.
Which is essential because a lot of these bands have gone on to stay together and are still doing it, like, oh my gosh, McLaughlin. Zach.
Yeah.
Who is now in Control. He was from years back. And he's in his 20s now, and he's still rocking and doing an amazing job. He's just one of many that I can recall that have come up from because the Stairway to Stardom has been around, 30 years?
I think it's been around like
maybe
37.
Longer?
Maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the 35-year anniversary big thing, and I was
that's
like...
That's right, okay.
And I was like, I have no idea what year it was. I think I was still in school, so I was still just judging, so...
Yeah, still a long time. And then, okay, I didn't forget that part. But and lastly, do you have advice for women, young, older, just wanting to break into this industry, something key that they could take away from?
Something key is,
that helped you.
Stick with it and don't take no for an answer, and maybe find another strong woman that's already in the industry that you can, use as a mentor. Like, I wasn't using Larissa. She chose to take me under her wing, and that's what I do too. I teach violinists, vocalists, a little bit of piano, but I don't want to step on our piano teacher's toes, so it's
I forgot to mention she plays violin. I forgot to mention that.
I don't do it much,
but you teach it.
But I do teach it.
That's awesome.
So just find somebody that can be your mentor that's already got their foot in the industry, and that like really helps pave the way. But also don't give up and don't take no. For anybody in the music industry, don't take no as completely no. It's just no for now. It's just not now.
I like
not that person, not that time. Just not now. They might say no, but that just means not now.
Yeah, that means someone else will say yes.
Exactly.
Maybe you weren't meant to be with that person.
There's all kinds of stories
that
happen. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out.
Oh, thanks for coming on.
Merlot again with the Bitter Elegance. TheBitterElegance.com. I'm going to have the post down in the video. Follow their socials. And if you get a chance, see their concert this Saturday.